G'day guys, how you doing? It's me, back with another video, and it actually has been quite a while. It's most probably been about a month and a half or so since I have put a video out, and the reason behind that was I've been processing everything. There's been a lot of moving parts that have been going on since the whole Charlie Kirk deal. And so instead of just jumping on the bandwagon like everybody else has, I took a whole big step back and decided to really genuinely process just all this stuff that's going on. And as the title says below, don't get caught up in the distractions. There's a lot more going on. And when I mean there's a lot more going on, there really is a lot more going on. This particular period of time that we're in right now is quite honestly absolutely freaking mind-blowing, to be quite honest with you. It's absolutely such an incredibly stunning period of time to actually be alive and to be able to take a step back and actually look at everything that is going on. And the reality of the situation is all this stuff, from the whole Charlie Kirk deal, all the stuff that's coming out on 3i Atlas, all this different stuff, this whole war narrative in the Middle East in a certain country. I mean, all this stuff is nothing but a massive distraction. And I've talked about this in other videos. I've talked about, how the power players are going to really start doubling down on all this BS to keep us distracted from what is really happening. And what is really truly happening is people call it this great awakening. Pretty much since the start of this channel, I've been explaining to my subscribers about how our job is to find ourselves. It's about finding our truth. Our truth is consciousness. And I've said this 8 years ago in videos, that it's about learning about who we are consciously. And then as we learn about who we are consciously, it's about figuring out where we fit into the combined human consciousness. And then once we've figured out about how we fit into the combined human consciousness, then it is about how the combined human consciousness plays out into the entire consciousness of the entire universe. And I sincerely have talked about this in videos that go back years. A lot of people didn't really know what I was talking about, but as this timeline has played out more and more, I've become more and more open about what this is all about. So with that being said, literally, it was November last year, I said we transitioned into a whole new timeline. That we were we hadn't transitioned into this whole new timeline. We were firmly in this new timeline as of November last year. This is what is known as the age of Aquarius. It has been prophesized for thousands of years. Even in the Holy Bible, I think the quote is something along the lines of, "The man with the watery pail will bring truth upon this earth." And that's what we are seeing. We're seeing the very first phases of the truth coming out, this awakening to who the power players are, how a certain group of individuals control the world, how a certain group of individuals have been manipulating the United States of America into going to all these different wars. As people are calling it, this noticing that's going on right now. And these individuals right here, I show this book, my regular subscribers will understand it, that these guys right here in bed with these guys right here, because they're one of the same. At the highest degrees, they're one of the same. They've been very aware of this timeline for a long time. A very long time. So what they're doing is they're throwing out all these distractions. And it's only going to get even more serious now because of a certain object that is actually passing through our solar system right now. And this is what I mean. This is when I say this is an incredible time to actually be alive and to be aware of who we are and what we are and all this sort of stuff, because that is literally what this object that is in space right now, that is passing through our solar system, that's what this is about. This object is going to force people to start to remember this object and its timing as it's passing through our solar system. Its timing is so beyond perfect. It is absolutely freaking phenomenal. It's the timing of this object that's passing through our solar system is actually so perfect, so beyond perfect, one would actually have to question whether or not it was a planned trajectory, that there potentially could be some other species of entity or what have you out there that's like, okay, these clowns aren't waking up on this little blue marble, then we need to give them a good punch. And that's what this object is going to be about, and has already started to really show that it's about that. So the reason why I'm bringing that, in some respects, the reason why I'm bringing that up is you're going to see the power players really start doubling down. Don't be surprised if you see some sort of absolute asinine buffoonery roll out, some sort of massive false flag event or something stupid along that lines to keep people distracted. Because the reality of this object is it is to awaken our remembering of who we are, and not just who we are, what we are, who created us, why we were created, who our creators were, because human beings, as I sit here before you and as you sit there watching this video, we were created. Because in our mitochondrial DNA, there is a spliced in section of DNA, and science calls it the God gene. And it's the reason why they call it the God gene is there is no other DNA on this planet as that piece of spliced in DNA. Humans, the human animal, is the only creature that has it. So that begs the question, who and what had the technology to actually splice in a section of DNA and make us who we are? And not just that, according to science, we have the same mother. Every single man, woman on this planet has the same female chromosomes. All of us. So that actually makes every human being on this planet literally step brothers and sisters. And then on top of that, there is, I can't remember, I think it's 7 different male chromosomes. And that's where our features and colors and all that sort of stuff came from. So when you look at it from a scientific point of view, human beings are literally step brothers and step sisters. I mean, that's it. We all came from the same mother. Or that's it. So that's what this remembering is going to be about. And this object that's called 3i Atlas, as it passes through our solar system, it is actually going to be triggering that DNA. It's going to be triggering that God DNA inside of human beings. It's going to really start waking human beings up. How do I know this? Well, a number of years ago, I started meditating. I learned to meditate, and then I was, we're talking 15, 20 years ago, and I would fire off my pineal gland. I'd bring the energy down into me. I'd light off all my chakras and I get everything all aligned and all that sort of stuff, and then fire off your kundalini and you have these amazing experiences and everything. Then one day I decided to bring that energy down into my DNA, like right down to my core DNA. After I discovered through reading and research that we had this God gene, I was like, okay, let's see what this is about. So I did that. I started doing that. And boy, oh boy, oh boy. Did I have a remembering. It was well beyond a remembering. I actually ended up having a visit. And that's the God's honest truth. Because when that God gene is fired off, what it does is once you fire off a couple of them, it sends out a signal and it starts firing off all the other God gene, the strands of DNA throughout my entire body, or your entire body. And in some way, shape or form, that sends a signal out into whatever. And yeah, it can be quite the profound experience, let's just say that. But here's the really interesting thing, and this is where the previous video joins in with this video. I'll leave a link in the description section for what I'm about to explain to you. A number of years ago, a certain government funded their Department of Defense, and not just their Department of Defense, but also their DARPA organization. And this whole funding of these two organizations was to find out a way of stopping people from connecting with their God gene. Think about that for a minute. These individuals here, and I'm not joking, these individuals right here at the highest degrees, these guys here in bed with these guys here, they've known about this time frame, as I've mentioned in multiple other videos. And through their contacts, their positions in power and everything, they knew about this timeline. Now, they did not know, and I can't see how they could possibly know about this object that's called 3i Atlas that is passing through our solar system right now. However, they knew about this timeline. And I would dare say that with their oracles, the people that they work with, they discovered what would happen when you connect with your God gene. Okay, so this funding of the DoD, DARPA, was to figure out a way to stop human beings being able to connect with that gene, that part of our DNA. And what they discovered was a jab. That was the way to do it, was via a jab. And that's what 2020 was about. 2020 was about bringing about a event that would be able to push a jab onto the people. And what neurologists are actually discovering now, brain surgeons, etc., is that people that have had the jab, their pineal gland is being blown out. And what's really interesting, and like I said and mentioned in the previous video, was that about 18 months or so ago I was watching a video on meditating, etc. And in the comments section was dozens, upwards of 100 odd comments, and comments on comments about how people had lost their ability to connect with their pineal gland. Like, there was genuinely people that were beside themselves, these new age spiritual people, that could not connect with their pineal gland in any way, shape or form. And as I said in that previous video, the pineal gland is the gateway to our God gene. Because when you meditate, what you're doing is you're bringing the energy down into you. There's a term that is out there called hanging in there by a thread. Well, we have this small thread of energy that keeps us connected with the divine. Now, when you can focus in on that thread of energy, you can actually you can actually increase the amount of energy that comes down into you. And you focus that energy in on your crown chakra, then down into your pineal gland, and you can fire off your pineal gland when you get to a certain point, and you'll feel it. You know when you fired it off, and then you can start bringing that energy down through your chakras and then back up, and you start getting this motion where this energy is circling down and then circling up, circling down and circling up. It's a really pretty interesting phenomenon. And that's called the awakening of your kundalini. And once you awaken that kundalini, it's like everything opens up. So what I did was, like I said, years ago, I started to bring that same energy that I used to fire off my kundalini, first my pineal gland, then the chakras, and then get my kundalini going. I brought that energy down into my God genes. And that's when this remembering started happening. And I've kept this remembering and the experiences from this remembering completely and utterly under wraps. I have not shared any of this shit with anybody. Right now, with 3i Atlas passing through the solar system the way it is right now, its timing in regards to its positions as it's passing through our universe is freaking massive. And that's what I said earlier on. It's like, because the power players, or the supposed power players, knew about this timeline, the reality is don't be surprised if you see some really, really stupid doo-doo play out. Because they are losing right now. And I've said that. I have said in other videos a year or two ago, I said, you watch what happens. The craziness is only going to get worse and worse and worse. And as this craziness gets worse, these supposed power players are going to start throwing the book out there. They're going to throw as much doo-doo on the wall and see what sticks. And that's literally where we're at right now. So what the outcome from this is going to be, I have no idea. However, all I can recommend you do, and I mean this from the depths of my heart and soul, is try not to get wrapped up in the distractions. Stay focused and steadfast in your own growth, okay? And in some way, shape, or form, this energy from these next few months will start triggering certain things inside of you. It's going to become a pretty profound time for certain people on this planet. Not everybody, because unfortunately there's a huge section of the population today that have lost that connection. There's a certain percentage, and it's a big percentage. I'd say, at least in Western society, it's going to be a solid 60+%. But anyway, if that's what I'm trying to put out there, is just, don't get caught up in the distractions. Don't get caught up in the drama. Don't take part in it in any way, shape, or form. Just do what you need to do. Stay focused and do you. That's the smartest thing anybody can do between now and I'd say around mid-March, to be quite honest with you. And in all sincerity, stay away, and I mean this, stay away from any massive event like a World Series of Baseball or the Super Bowl or something like that. Just stay the hell away from that stuff here in the United States. And I mean that sincerely. So, the next video we'll be expanding on this even a little bit more. So, hope you're all doing well. Alrighty, take care guys. Cheers.